Hey, what's up, dudes? I'm coming at you live from Vienna in a pre-recorded message from the future. Just got an emergency email from my friend, Dr. Bradley Warner. Apparently he's had a situation. It involved a vehicle, and he's been detained for driving it off the end of a bridge into the Pacific Ocean. My understanding is that they've shipped him to New York, and he's in a cell with the Dr. Puff Daddy, and they're having something called a baby oil party. I can't verify any of this, but the above mentioned is the reason for me filling in today on Dr. Bradley Warner's YouTube channel. So today is a joint. Look at this view. Today is a joint production brought to you by Zen Confidential and Hardcore Zen. Baby, I didn't want to shoot this video. Like, we're gonna maybe talk about this in a little bit, but man, sometimes the mind has a mind of its own, okay? I'm a middle-aged man riding around in the park on his bike, talking to himself in the middle of a work day. I either did something right or something wrong. Anyways, okay, the mind has a mind of its own sometimes, and we sit and do zazen, and we try and bring it into balance, and we do chanting and koan practice, we read Dogen, and all these things, but sometimes, as has been the case for me today, when I've been unable to focus, unable to be productive, unable to act like a grown middle-aged man, sometimes the mind has a mind of its own. Okay, I need to stop, pull over, and see if this has been recording. Oh, in all seriousness, seriously, SRSLY, Brad Warner, shot me an email yesterday and wanted to know if I could shoot a video for him because he's not able to shoot one today. He'll probably tell you about it. He's fine. It's a perfectly legal and respectable reason that he cannot shoot a video today, so get your mind out of the gutter, but I'm going to shoot one for him. Nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, is going right today. I woke up with a brutal headache. Meanwhile, I just ran into one of those angry fraus on this trail who blocked me on the path and started shouting at me in that condescending, scolding way that the Viennese have when you're doing something wrong, because they just love to catch you when you're doing something wrong. I mad dogged her until she got out of my way and heard her shouting as I drove past her the word Hund. I think what she's saying is, this is a dog park. You're not supposed to be on your bike. For the record, I am no longer in the dog park, so I believe I'm allowed to be on my bike here. We're 10 minutes into this video. I've said nothing of substance. Why am I speaking in this voice? I don't know. As I mentioned earlier, I believe, unless I'm hallucinating, sometimes the mind has a mind of its own. So there's part of my mind that woke up this morning wanting the day to go well and having every intention of orienting myself mentally, physically, spiritually to said aim. But instead, it's been a terrible day. It's been a day of half starts. It's been one of those days where you can't work. It's been one of those days when you feel like the entire world has taken a right turn, but for some reason you went left. And I had a memory as I was trying to get going about 3 hours earlier. I was just coming out here to this park to shoot this video when I came outside, and it literally, like Charlie Brown with the rain cloud following him, it literally started raining on top of my head. So I went back inside and I just collapsed on my bed, and I actually watched a couple Brad Warner videos, but we're going to get to that. I had a memory of a monk once telling me, you identify too much with the part of yourself that you like. He said, you identify too much with the vision you have of what your life should be and who you should be, the standards which you hold yourself to. He said, you identify with all of that way too much. And he said, which is to say, you identify with your mind. And this was after I had made a big mistake as a Zendo officer during my time as a monk. And he said, but if you were really your mind, don't you think you would be able to control it? Control it better, at least? Okay, so in Brad's video today that I was watching, somebody asked him a great question. And he gave a great answer, but because somebody was asking whether or not a certain kind of experience was the point or the goal of practice. And Brad spent, until I passed out, because I was laying on my bed and I fell asleep, but what I heard him say before I passed out was, there is no goal. You're not trying to achieve anything in your Zen practice. This aim of no aim, this aim of no goal is really helpful on days like today when my mind refuses to obey. On a day like today, I have a picture for how things should be going. I have imaginary tracks laid out for the day ahead of me, and then my train gets derailed completely. And it's a reminder of what that Zen priest was telling me many years ago when I screwed up at the monastery in my officer role. He was telling me, you are not what you think you are. You are not even you. You is a useful convenience, but it's not a fixed and solid thing, and it's not controllable moment to moment. And I think when Brad says, hey, he said this is the hardest thing for him. He first said it's the hardest thing about Zen practice, and then he said it's the hardest thing for me. And that really hit home. The hardest thing is remembering that there's not a goal. There's not a goal to Zen practice. There's not a goal. You could say maybe that one just sits down on the meditation cushion, for example, when that is the form of Zen practice that one is doing, and shows up moment after moment for what's there, for what's happening, moment after moment. Sounds kind of simple and kind of cheesy, but it helps get me through days like this, when I'm spinning my wheels, trying to be something that my life and the world and this body and this mind and this breath are not going to let me be. It can help me laugh at myself. Zen is very good at that. If you ever meet a Zen master or a spiritual teacher who doesn't know how to laugh, run the other way. One thing I've been noticing or working with lately is you could say, the power of attention to set things right as opposed to willpower. So much of my life, early life, was spent studying self-help and trying to adopt the right kind of personality to make my problems go away and to turn me into the kind of person I wished to be. And my journey through Zen practice has taught me something differently, and it's something that I learned in koan practice. A koan is a question that the teacher has given you, okay? It's a problem. It's a big, unsolvable problem that you have to solve. And one of the gifts, I think, of koan practice is that it teaches, or it asks you, it's asked me to hold bad problems, unsolvable situations, difficulties with awareness, with consciousness, and to keep them in an unresolved Like usually my mind or one's mind casts about for answers, casts about for certainty, casts about for comfort, casts about for control, baby. The mind is casting about all day. Sometimes it's casting about like a rabid, mad dog, like mine has been today and perhaps is even right now. But koan practice asks the student to stay with full awareness, as much awareness as one can manifest, as much focus and giving of one's awareness to the specific problem, meeting the problem. That's koan practice for me, meeting the question. And you meet it with the three elements that you use when you sit zazen: breath and mind and body. You meet it and embrace it completely instead of trying to solve it, or like I said earlier, trying to get yourself out of the bad mood or away from the problem. Instead, meeting it with attention. It's very hard to embrace the bad or sad or difficult parts of our life. It's very hard to consider them as much a part of us as the ideal vision we have for our life or our spiritual practice. It's very hard to meet the moment like completely as it is when it's like, I don't know, when it's smelly and screaming at us and it contains a threat of violence or despair or shame or anxiety. But to catch these moments as they are and to catch oneself in them, to, I don't know what the right word is, to pay attention completely or to embrace them, to meet the moment without a goal, without a screen, without a filter. I think you swallow the poison. You swallow the poison and you make it part of your body and you become strong. You're like this guy. I read about this guy who let a snake bite him like 300 times. He let snakes bite him. He just held their heads, I guess, and he would dig their fangs into his arms. And he developed like antibodies to snake poison, this guy. I mean, like hundreds and hundreds of snake bites. And he just dissolved the poison into his system. And dudes, if there was ever a better metaphor for zazen, I don't know what it is. It's moment after moment sometimes of taking a snake bite. Ouch, 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 ouch. Embrace the snake. That's zazen. Sometimes that's what it feels like. And life always has fangs. You can't avoid the snake. Life's always got fangs. But if you meet the moment completely with your attention, like a monk told me once, he said, you must take the life on your chest. Because I was like huddled over because it was freezing at the monastery. He said, always take life on the chest. Take the snake on the chest. Face it and embrace it in your sitting. Whether your thing is anxiety or depression, stay with it. Like Pema Chodron says, stay with your attention in the moment, uncomfortable or painful. It's like processing the poison of that snake. You develop an immunity and you become strong and unafraid. And I'm not saying that that's the goal of practice, because then you're just running around getting bit by snakes, metaphorically speaking, and that doesn't sound right. I mean, rain or shine, you meet the moment. That's the practice. And you meet it because that's a true way to live. And I have found that when I live in untrue ways, it causes trouble and suffering. And so it's better to just humble myself, and on these bad days like today, let the snake bite. Don't try and run away from it. Don't try and do what we used to do at Mount Baldy. We had a snake catcher, and we would catch the snakes behind their neck, and we would put them in plastic buckets, and then we would take them and we would release them like further down the road, which is to say kind of make them someone else's problem now that I think about it. I mean, we didn't release them in people's yards, but we didn't want to kill them, and we couldn't have them around because snakes set up shop. So if you don't face the snakes, they just sit there waiting for you. So what's your snake today, friends? My snake today was I felt like a loser. I felt unproductive, scared. It's a really anxious feeling, and that's my snake today. Acknowledging it, seeing it, breathing and feeling it. For me, it's always a feeling in my body. Once I stop paying attention to the storyline, then emotion arises. And when I stop getting caught up in the tornado of emotion, I find sooner or later there's a sensation or a feeling in my body somewhere, and that's the snake bite, right? Today it's in my diaphragm. It's a tenseness, like a tense fist in my diaphragm. And then I breathe into that space. Breathe in, breathe out. And don't try and chase the snake away. Don't try and chase the bad feeling or the problem away. Just doing my practice of breathing in, breathing out, laughing a little bit, paying a little bit of attention or a lot of attention, being aware, not clinging to the problem, but not pushing it away, right? Letting it be right in front of me. That's the moral of today's story, letting it be, not pushing it away, not wringing the neck of the problem. I met Brad Warner many years ago at the Mount Baldy Zen Center. He came with Nina Snow. Hey, Nina. Dudes, this is just getting more and more surreal. Am I dreaming right now? Anyways, I was about to praise Brad before the helicopter flew over my head and the horse passed by. Oh, there's another horse. There's a lot of horses. I'm happy there are people like Brad out there who exist outside of the institutional Zen with the robes and the rules and the expectations, but he's a serious practitioner and a serious teacher and a serious person. So you get serious Zen, but it doesn't feel like he takes himself seriously. And I watch his videos all the time, and I get so much out of them. So I'm really appreciative of Brad, and I'm glad I met him, and I'm honored to be able to speak to his channel today while he's taking care of some business he's got to take care of. So I'm honored to have been here today. If you want to support Brad, you can go here. It's hardcorezen.info. I believe it's hardcorezen.info. I'm not totally sure, but I think it is because he said it so many times that I've watched so many of his videos that I think it's right here. Click on it, hardcorezen.info. Now, if it's not that, then it is what I'm pointing to. And if you want to support my gig, you can go to patreon.com/showsonjackcobner. That's patreon.com/showsonjackcobner. Thank you for supporting us. We don't have institutions supporting us. And it allows us, I think, to speak in ways that people who wear robes and have boards of directors and have official students can't speak. You can't make a whole Zen talk about how much of a dumbass you were today if you're a teacher and you have students looking at you saying, why am I practicing with you? But the truth is, teachers feel this way all the time, but they don't learn how to talk about it because students can be so ruthless and judgy. And so can boards of directors. And you feel a sense of responsibility when you're a Zen teacher not to show certain vulnerabilities. When you have a sitting group that you sit with, you feel like you need to be dad or mom on the cushion. But I had that role for a while. I'm not sure if Brad ever had that role. I think he did for a little bit, but I did have that role where I was a official Zen teacher within my lineage for a while, wearing the robes, showing up on Sunday for Dharma talks, and it was a heavy burden that didn't feel right. So I'm much happier to be able to come and speak to you as a layperson from the heart about real issues that affect lay people. And I'm deeply grateful for Brad to do the same week after week. Dudes, I've talked too long. I'm out. Choose.
Hey, Ziggy, who was that guy? Who was that guy? That was not me. That was somebody else. Who was that on the video? Oh my gosh. All right. Well, maybe I'll be back next time. See you later, Ziggy.